Welcome back, Daily Show. The time is 10:43. We're going to wrap up the show today with our conversation with Great Rivers and Routes CEO, President Cory Jobe. Great to have you on the show today, and really a pretty important day as you head into Committee of the Whole tonight. Where are your thoughts on everything before we dive into the meat of the conversation?
Well, there's three ordinances that are up for debate tonight at the Committee of the Whole. One is the proposed ordinance from Alderwoman Ford and Mayor Goins to cut funding by 70% to the Great Rivers and Routes Tourism Bureau. Let's go back to that in a second. There's two additional ordinances. The administration and Alderwoman Ford have said these should all be heard together, but after months of meeting with downtown business owners, Alderman Bone and Alderman Veloff are presenting two ordinances tonight. $15,000 from the Food and Beverage Tax Fund to purchase up to 30 flower containers in a Phase 1 beautification effort along Broadway. And then the second is to create an Events and Festival Fund, a $100,000 fund that would go to support new events and festivals in the downtown. There's a radius, so here at State and 3rd, up Broadway. And we heard from local bars, restaurants, shop owners, the importance to bring this together. Those funds are coming out of really visitor, non-resident spending funds. Over the last 5 years that I've been here, those two funds have an excess of $2 million sitting them in today. So it kind of, when the first ordinance to cut our funding by 70% come up, I was pretty shocked because we've been meeting with the mayor's staff. We've been meeting with aldermen, downtown businesses to come up with ways to improve and drive additional travel to downtown.
Can I ask real quick?
Oh, sure.
Were you blindsided by the ordinance?
180% blindsided. We actually gave a presentation on March 11th. We always give an annual presentation to the city of our economic impact numbers, just what we do for Alton. We gave that on March 11th, and then at the last city council meeting, Alderwoman Ford read that into the record. And what's troubling is this is a tourism economy. I would say probably for Alton, it's healthcare and tourism. And when you look at our small business owners, they're really the backbone of the industry. And to cut an organization who's driving overnight stays, driving non-resident spending, non-resident spending is visitors that come into the area, whether they're from 50 miles away or 500 miles away or further. They spend money at our local shops and restaurants, and then they leave. And then the tax revenues that are generated from that help with Alton Main Street, help support Great Rivers and Routes and the work we do, go to support police and fire vehicles and the Alton Amphitheater. And then the excess of that is deposited into two funds that currently has over $2.2 million.
Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know that there was that many dollars in
and that's given to the council by the treasurer on a per monthly basis.
For the individuals out there, and the only reason I'm asking is I have seen some of the back and forth online. There's been a lot of support for Great Rivers and Routes, but there have been some individuals that have said, well, Alton, it looks like we're spending $400,000 relatively speaking to, the city of Grafton that was spending $60,000. I don't know how that breaks down or how pricing works, but what is your thought on that for somebody that might say, is Alton getting the quote-unquote bang for their buck?
Well, I would first say that Alton definitely is getting the bang for the buck, because if you look at the revenues that are being generated by the tourism economy, and it's really our job at Great Rivers and Routes, being the certified bureau for the city, is to attract travelers from an outside radius in. And we've seen that take place on multiple fronts. Let me go back and answer your first part of the question. Does Alton invest more with Great Rivers and Routes than any other community in our 6-county region? Yes. We were founded here 41 years ago. 30 years ago, I might be off a few years, numerous business owners approached the city to create a food and beverage tax and to create a lodging tax to support tourism efforts. Fast forward, we've grown over the years, right? It's a regional economy. It's a regional tourism economy. But Alton still gets 25% 25 times more than what they're investing with us. Where that goes to is a multitude of things, from sports tourism events. We don't do that for any other community. For their own, Alton has their own marketing campaigns and their own brand campaigns that we're selling to St. Louis residents, Central Illinois, Chicago. Alton's also very prominent in our regional brand message, where the Mother Road meets the River Road. So not only are they getting their own messaging to the tune of about $200,000 a year, they're also in the brand advertising message that's about $400,000 a year. And then on top of that, we do host all the specialty tours for Alton. We have specialty events we do here in Alton. We don't do those for any other community. I think one of the city's staff persons said that we're responsible for the Explore Grafton website page and Facebook. That's not us. That's the Grafton Chamber of Commerce. So to do it without even sitting down with us, when we've been in meetings at City Hall, and I don't want to get in that back and forth. Right. I'm just really here to talk about the numbers. Well, and the numbers really prove themselves.
Well, and that's where I think I'm really happy you're here, because, sometimes I think that whenever it goes into the social media, here's the share of the article, here's this, and then you get all these comments that kind of just dilute everything. I think it's important to start where you started in that meeting. And, if all of a sudden, you guys have this idea of, hey, things are going this way, and then you get kind of flipped on like that, I could see there being a little bit of a shock.
Yeah, we were asked to, the container idea was presented to the mayor and his staff, and there was no action. So I went then to aldermen who were involved in those meetings. Yeah. The Events and Festival Fund idea, that came up through bar owners and restaurant owners feeling the pinch that we got to get more people down here on State and 3rd and Broadway having dinner and going to a music event or something to drive new spending. We've been involved with expanding the 250th anniversary, so 250 on the Mississippi. People came to our organization. We know the city does a lot in the amphitheater on the riverfront on the 3rd, but we're expanding that to a 3-day activity. Because, yeah. Not only on the riverfront, but downtown and at different locations, and working with business owners. But I think what... I interrupted.
Well, no. I think it all leads to a really good point, though, because, for maybe individuals that don't necessarily see the work, and by seeing I mean maybe realize all the different activities that are going on or where this generates the revenue to, I think it's great that you highlight those, just for, regardless of anyone's opinion, just to know the work that's being done by the organization.
Sure,
I think that's very important.
And I think where the rubber hits the road, or the proof in the pudding, is the fund balances that are growing every month at the council, at the city, that could be used for riverfront improvements, that can be used for small business loans, that could be used for beautification efforts. Those funds are there. But if you cut the organization that's driving overnight stays, so my board asked me to put together, how would we cut $400,000 from our budget from the city of Alton? Well, it's pretty cut and dry. We would, right now we have booked 5 sporting events for the city of Alton this year in 2026. Those would all go away. Our funds would not be able to support that, because it's the food and beverage. That's $2+ million in visitor spending, more than, I think it's 1,800 hotel room nights. Just in those sporting events, that we'd have to cut those immediately. We service Viking River Cruises and American Cruise Lines, that ports in Alton with a contract with the city. But Great Rivers and Routes picks up all the expense. We do over 300 day trip tours around Alton and up the River Road. We would not be able to do that. We would reduce staff. We'd lay off staff. We would have to cancel all the Alton Feels Like Home regional messaging, campaign messaging through broadcast, out of home, print, digital. Alton would only be in the brand regional campaign, where the Mother Road meets the River Road. We'd have to cancel the Alton Eagle Ice Festival and other specialty tours that we do. That's how we get to the $400,000 cut, and that's what it basically is. I think there was a fact sheet put out on Friday by the administration, showing some communities that pay us much less than they do, than Alton does. Edwardsville was not on that list. Edwardsville, when I started here, was a $40,000 investment partner. Starting July 1, they're going to be a $140,000 investment partner. So if Alton cuts our budget to $170,000, Alton isn't the number one, basically not the number one investor anymore. So it really goes down to, do business owners, do elected officials, do residents care about tourism? That's the real question, because when you cut marketing, cut promotion, there's going to be less revenue. What does less revenue mean to taxpayers?
Right.
That's the real question that I think people have to ask themselves.
I think what we'll do now is let's hit pause on this and come back and talk more about some of the revenue that's generated and some of the numbers here a little bit more for anyone that's interested in following along. We're continuing our conversation with Cory Jobe, the president and CEO, Great Rivers and Routes, heading into tonight's committee of the whole meeting on that vote that would significantly slash the funding to the organization. We'll come back with more on it next.
If you think you might be pregnant, you don't have to face it alone. At Vitality Women's Clinic, you'll find the care you deserve. We offer confidential, no-cost pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, and STI testing. Our team is here to listen, support you, and help you understand your options without pressure or judgment. Walk in or make an appointment today. Call 618-466-1690 or visit vitalitywomensclinic.org. Vitality Women's Clinic, clear answers, real support.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
At Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu, we help students of all ages build confidence, discipline, and real-world strength. Join a supportive community that challenges you to grow both on and off the mat. Experience the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with a 7-day free trial at our new location. Call 618-795-2692 or visit altonelite.com to start your journey today. Train hard, serve others, live elite at Alton Elite Jiu-Jitsu. When you need a project done right, on budget, and on time, trust Gillahan Concrete. Gillahan handles every kind of project, big and small. Commercial, industrial, residential, from room additions and garages to patios, driveways, and more. Gillahan brings quality and experience to every job. Family owned with over 30 years of service to our community. Call today at 618-781-3914 or visit GillahanConcrete.com.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
Welcome back. It's 10:56. We are wrapping up our day today with Cory Jobe, the president and CEO of Great Rivers and Routes, heading into, again, the committee of the whole meeting tonight. Before we go into numbers real quick, I just wanted to ask if the measure passes tonight, it goes through council on Wednesday. Do you see an immediate effect with that decision if they decide to go ahead with that budget proposal?
Yeah, well, the immediate would be those sports
events,
tournaments that we would have to we would have to call all those rights holders and say we can't, because those rights holders, they just don't pick Alton, right?
Right.
I wish a visitor or a rights holder would just wake up one morning and say, "We're going to Alton." my job would be done, right? Instead, you've got to reach those visitors.
Yeah.
You got to reach the right visitor. You've got to go to the rights holders and those sporting events don't show up in our backyard for free. For instance, American Junior Golf that's going to be here later this summer. 800 hotel room nights. That's a $50,000 rights holders fee that we pay.
Wow.
To get them here. And we're using that money from the food and beverage tax collections we get from the city. The D1, D2 World Series ball that we partner with the River Dragons. I'm not going to be able to do that either. That's 1,000 hotel room nights.
Wow. And see, I think that's where, when you say that, though, I mean, that really does, I think, bring in the numbers game a little bit more into perspective. And it's just something for the public to kind of take note of what that does.
And it doesn't happen. We just don't sit in an office. We have a sales team that goes to national and international sales shows to court the right tour operators, the right organizations to do business here. We go to sports shows to meet the rights holders, to get them to book here. I mean, we're sitting on the most famous body of water in the world, the Mississippi River. And how do we exploit that to bring more events here? Right. Those are the sorts of things that we focus on. In addition to all the marketing, you know, the leisure things, the sexy side of the business, right? Nobody sees us slupping from event to event to meet with rights holders. And, you know, at the end of the day, tourism is the most positive message that a community can get. Yeah. And now we're here debating back and forth, why is tourism important enough or not to the economy? So I would ask every business owner that might be listening today to show up at 6 p.m. tonight. Let your aldermen know, all aldermen on the city council, and let Mayor Goins know. You know, because at the end of the day, tourism really equals customers for local businesses, and it equals revenue for our city. Yeah. And if we cut that, it's fewer visitors, lost revenues, struggling communities. And so it is our economy here, whether people realize it or not. Not all of our businesses can't do it without the visitor economy. Yeah. They just can't.
Well, and, you know, I think it's just really, you know, good points to be had. And it's going to be interesting to really see what the committee of the whole's thoughts are going in tonight. You know, before I let you go, I wanted to touch on a couple more things. What's the feedback you're hearing, you know, from business owners all the way down just, you know, community members? What have your last couple of days looked like on that front?
Well, I don't read the comments online. Let me just say that. I have been in public service all my life. So I've learned early on, I was taught early on, not to read public comments. But I can say this, we've been meeting with partners and business owners and board members. I really want to put a shout out to Pride Incorporated. Pride Inc., those ladies have been walking door to door to business owners and talking to business owners. All business owners are concerned because really we're their marketing arm. We're telling a wider audience about all the cool things. And Alton is filled with amazing, unique shops, great bars and restaurants and pubs. And so, again, I think the support is for not cutting our funding. And I also think there's support for the other two ordinances. I can't stress that enough. I hope what doesn't happen tonight, they lay over all these ordinances, because we've worked for months
to get through
on the beautification and the events and festival fund ordinances. And I hope those continue. And I'm really encouraging and asking a no vote from these aldermen on the proposed 70% cut to Great Rivers and Routes.
Absolutely. And Cory, before I let you go, is there any final thoughts just on this that you'd like the public to know about, or anyone else as you head into this afternoon?
Well, you know, we're hedging it. We're coming into our busy travel season. So if I can't be remiss to think about all the things that are happening. There's a lot of things to be celebrating this year, right? America's 250, the 100th birthday of Miles Davis, even the FIFA World Cup that's in Kansas City. We're seeing a lot of interest from international travel, flying into Chicago, traveling Route 66 into the region, exciting times. And so we have the F1 powerboat race coming. We have all these wonderful things that are happening in this community. And I just, I've noticed what has happened over the past week of people standing up and rallying behind a cause. And there are great businesses and great organizations doing amazing things. And so just think if what we could accomplish if we work together.
Absolutely. You know, Cory, thanks so much for stopping
absolutely.
by. We're going to take a quick pause, and I'm going to come back and just wrap up the Monday that was after this. We'll link everything in a write-up here very briefly on RiverBender.com. About half an hour or so, you'll see that there. And then we'll come back with more tonight with Committee of the Whole, and we'll see what happens.